ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia. Good morning, this is Grace.
This is Gowri.
Hi, welcome to Durian ASEAN, the voice of sharing. How are you, Gowri, today?
I'm good. It's having a little, just
Eye
a minor
infection?
eye infection, yes, but
Where
it's
did
all
you
good. It'll be better.
Where did you get the eye infection from?
I think it's my contacts because I keep wearing them for long hours, which I shouldn't be doing. So it's my fault. I have to start taking care of my eyes better.
I think you should. I
don't want to be blind in 2015.
Oh, okay, Gowri, you better now. We still have a lot of things to do and still a lot of things to see around.
Exactly, and the year has just started, right?
Yes, exactly. So be healthy. Take care of yourself. Actually, I have never worn eye contact before, so I don't know.
Oh,
how
that's
it
because
feels
you
like.
have perfect vision, and I'm actually blind without my contacts.
Oh
so.
dear. So can you see me now?
I can because I am actually wearing them. So.
Oh, okay. But just that it's irritating you.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We'll keep update our listeners about AirAsia event.
Of course.
And then AirAsia QZ8501, there will be a compensation for the next of kin according to Indonesia. And it is also required to pay, like I said, a compensation to the victims of next kin. And the airline must pay compensation. It's not only from the Indonesia side, but of course, Tony Fernandez, he also announced to the public, say that he will compensate and he will pay certain amount of money to all those victims.
And the authorities have also called out to people to stop speculating because a lot of people are coming up with their own version of the story, saying, "Oh, this happened and that happened," and this goes on Facebook, on Twitter, and there are a lot of people who just believe whatever they read. So this people have actually called out for people to stop speculating. Just wait for the official report because the search is already ongoing. They've been recovering a lot of bodies now, and they're also finding parts of the plane, and they're just slowly carrying on the investigation. So the best thing to do is just wait for the official report from AirAsia.
Because it also sort of hurts the families of victim when they see the also news coming up and the people start speculating, because it does affect the families and the friends who have actually lost in the event of AirAsia.
And in line with this, actually Indonesia's transport ministry has come up with this new sort of rule that every pilot has to be briefed before the flight.
That's for sure. They have to know the policy and they need to know what they need to do before the flight. Because, well, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm sure it's not based on my personal speculation, but then this plane wasn't supposed to actually depart on the day itself, and then mainly because of the bad weather.
And also because of the route. Turns out the route wasn't actually approved, and it seems Jokowi also wants to take an action, and he wants some answers regarding the what he called the unauthorized flight actually.
Yes, that's correct. Pavement dispute has arisen after Indonesia AirAsia was reported to have flown illegally on the Surabaya to Singapore route on Sundays, so which was actually not supposed to be there, but also because of the bad weather as well as the route they're not supposed to take in. He actually went over the bad weather instead of playing with the bad weather.
And apart from that, it seems as of yesterday, some of the developments said that the pilots of Indonesia AirAsia, the flight QZ8501, actually did not receive the weather report prior to departure. And the plane was also on an unauthorized schedule, like we mentioned. And of course, it was not actually permitted to fly Surabaya, Singapore. That route was not supposed to be in place. And there are all these different factors that is going into the plane crash. But like we said earlier, we don't want people to speculate. We'll wait for the official report. And President Jokowi has also come up with a few preventive measures to prevent something like this from happening in the future. And he also said that Indonesia AirAsia incident was a reminder that all airlines have to follow the regulations, because sometimes it's easy for us to just overlook something like, oh, this is just a small thing, it's fine, let's just go ahead and do it. But it could have such a major effect, and when it involves an airline with so many people on board, so many family members waiting for them, anything could go wrong. And
well, that's true, and then this is not the first time that it happened. The last year, the first one was MH370, and after the MH17, now the AirAsia, the QZ8501. 3 events happened in the same year, and then that brought a lot of sadness, and then all this negative vibe to Malaysian image as well.
And as much as we don't want to bring up the past, of course we're heading towards the future, but we cannot just let it go, because especially with the MH370, we still don't know what happened to the plane.
We don't know where it is now.
Of course, our Prime Minister said he has to conclude the plane is in the Indian Ocean because of all the investigations. But even
in
then,
fact, that
yes.
brought a lot of controversial issues after all that the news was released.
And
then,
yeah, even then it was just a conclusion that he inferred from all the different search parties. It wasn't because they actually found something, or there was no concrete evidence or whatsoever that was found. So as much as we want to leave this behind, we still want our answers, because it is a Malaysian airline,
of course,
and a lot of Malaysians were affected in the incident. So we're glad that that QZ8501, the investigation is ongoing, although there are a few hurdles because of the rough weather and all. But they have been they managed to give us all the developments that they need, especially providing comfort, encouragement to the families themselves. And we want the same thing done about MH370
for
as
sure.
well.
And in fact, Malaysian AirAsia, it's a shared airline between Malaysia and Indonesia. That's when Indonesia also wants to take an action towards the victims, and also to be able to compensate what has happened to them. So we hope that we can receive more positive news and then more updates regarding this event. But let's move on to the next news regarding something very interesting to talk about, which is about the gender wage bias still raging in Malaysia, right?
Yes, and this gender wage bias thing has been going on for a very, very long time, and we would often just neglect it, saying that, oh, it's 2015, it doesn't happen anymore. But when you actually get down there and do your research, like in this case, turns out that it's still pretty rampant. It's still happening in Malaysia, in this country.
So that means still there are people who stereotype male and the females when it comes to workplace, that the male can actually be more productive than females.
And they are actually making more money as well, according to this research.
It's almost the double.
So according to this article, men are actually earning an average of 2,260 a month compared to women who are earning 2,071 ringgit, or a difference of 8.4% actually. And this is according to the National Statistics Department salaries, and also a wages survey report that was conducted in 2013.
Which reminds me of the previous report that we reported about the Malaysia, how they want to learn the example from Japan. You know, Japan is still it's a male-dominant society. The females are just tend to be housewife. But after all, Japan is also looking at to develop the more women entrepreneurship in that nation. So it's not entirely correct how Malaysia should follow the example of Japan. But it looks like the trend, or I don't know whether I should call it stereotyping when it comes to men and female, when it comes to workplace, is still there. And then you never know how female can be so productive at certain area and certain industries. And then according to the statistics that we are looking at, still males, the rates are way higher than females.
And if you were to look at the budget that happened last year during the presentation, they actually there was a higher allocation for women's development, and also a lot of corporate companies have called for an increase in women's participation in the workforce. And with all that, hopefully it will increase this year. But as of now, we still, of course, have this huge bias going on, mostly because of the mindset that that male tend to be stronger and they are more skilled and they can work longer hours, and women cannot exactly cope with that those long hours and the heavy workload that comes with that.
And also, there is another report to show that the men of Chinese and Indian descent earn more than the women of their ethnic groups, with around 418 ringgit and then 358 average monthly wage differences respectively. But then, Gowri, there is a very interesting area in industry that actually female earns higher than male.
And what industry would that be?
It's construction. Can you believe it? And then the gender wage gap, it's a minus here. I mean, the other industries, the gender wage gap is more than 20%, but now it's a minus 13.1.
And that's surprising because construction is the one category that you would think would be male dominated. When you think of women, you probably think they have a higher percentage in terms of hospitality, tourism, or administrative, or even in terms of medical jobs. But in this case, it's actually the construction in which female, but that's probably why, because they don't get a lot of females, so when they do get someone
well, according to the report here, female workers in the construction industry were more focused in the group of skilled and semi-skilled workers compared to the male workers who tend to work as low-skilled workers. So probably that could make sense, but then it's actually surprising. That's because that's the only area that female workers actually earn higher than males.
And also, if you look at urban areas, men are still earning more than women. With that will be an 8% gap. However, in the rural area, it's much better. It's more balanced, and the gap is only about 3.6%. So, what we can derive from this is, in the rural area, there is much more of a balanced distribution between male and female, as opposed to the urban area where it's more male-centered.
It looks like in the oldest village or rural areas, they need more helping hands. So they do use of all this manpower. So they also get help from women as well. But in fact, in Southeast Asia, Malaysian women appear to have better salaries than others in region.
That is something that we should highlight. And what do I say? Compliments to Malaysia, because we do in the whole region, it seems we have the best record in terms of men and women and the salary scale. Even in Singapore, there is still a huge gap of 11% difference in terms of the wages between men and women.
Definitely, the gap is more than the Malaysia here, because the gap was between average 8% differences between the male and female. However, still the stereotyping or the mindset that people have towards the a gender, it still needs to be fixed, and then it still needs to be improved towards them. Definitely, women nowadays, we would love to be independent, that we want to have our job opportunities outside. So definitely, having more platforms for women is very important, and it also will help the nation, the economic growth.
And it's also because of the usual stereotype that we have especially when a man and a woman get married, and it's kind of like an unspoken rule that when they have a kid, the women will stay at home and look after the kids. So automatically, it gives more advantage to the men in that sense. And
definitely, as we're still 20s, Gowri, so I'm looking forward to see the change in the workplaces, especially when it comes to gender biased.
Yes, absolutely, and it's 2015, so we'll see how the statistics will look like end of this year.
And it's very interesting how you keep mentioning 2015. Well, let's move on to pretty far country from here, which is New Zealand. There was a guy from this country facing 4 years in a Burmese prison for insulting Buddhism, and which was actually reported a few weeks ago, but we would love to update our listeners regarding this, the incident that happened. And then his trial is the latest example of growing religious intolerance in the country.
And the country we are referring to is Myanmar, actually. And it seems he actually said something which was considered insulting and disrespectful, and because of that, he's a bar manager from New Zealand actually, and it seems he will go trial on Friday, but not this Friday. This has already happened because it's from the 24th of December. And he was actually arrested with two other people, and they even have had trouble looking for legal representation, and they were not allowed to have visitors. If they are found guilty, though, they could face up to 4 years in prison.
Yeah, well, although the post was removed and the apologies was made, but it quickly drew the attention from local Buddhists because Myanmar it's also another country which is very sensitive towards religion matters, and then when somebody actually do insult really all this Buddhism or other religions in that nation, definitely he will get all this attention.
And of course, the thing that we want to highlight here is not so much about this guy from New Zealand, but it's more about how we are handling this whole religious tolerance thing, because in Southeast Asia, of course, religion is quite a big deal.
And it's pretty diverse
all over the
also.
world, actually. When it comes to religion, it's a very sensitive thing. And especially in terms of the rising movements that we have in terms of ISIS and all, where people are using religion as a motivation for their actions. And also, if you look at Southeast Asia, every country, we have a different religion that is dominant in each country. And when it comes to somebody else who actually says something about your own religion, and then people get offended. But it's hard to draw the line, don't you think, when what is considered disrespectful, what is considered because people can have different opinion about things. Well, what is your take on that?
People can have different opinions, and then when it comes to draw a fine line, and with the religion, it's still not clear. It's quite vague because some community, there are certain community who could be very sensitive towards the religion, and then they can just be feel offended and straight away attack the person just because that person said something about it. But it could be just his pure opinion. You see how he's been thinking towards the certain group. However, it's the how the higher authorities and the government has to take and then handle this kind of matter well with a balanced mindset, whether it's what's more important to the people and what's more important to a certain group of people when it comes to religion matter.
And sometimes people may not know where to draw the line as well, because they can say something that they feel like it's just my opinion and I want to say it, but that could it probably doesn't come across as they want it to. And according to this article as well, he said instead of bowing down to intimidation from extremist groups, there should be a clear-headed public debate about extreme nationalist ideas and religion's role in politics. And that's another thing that Malaysians are really concerned about, because religion does actually play a huge part in the politics of this country, especially when we look at certain organizations that we consider very extreme, and we consider them as probably even bigots, because they come up with all these statements that is hurtful or could be hateful to people of other religion, other race. And we think that this is something that only happens in Malaysia, but it's not true. It happens in a lot of countries, and in this case, it happened in Myanmar. So there should really we should learn how to look at the bigger picture and learn why do things like this happen in the first place. What leads to all this rising extremism when it comes to religion. And also Myanmar has just opened up to it actually moved from military government system to democratic system, so it's still in the sort of insecure situation. And then in the times of uncertainty, the protection of Buddhism can get reconfigured against the external threat for sure. So this was highlighted last year, but then it's still ongoing issues in the nation. But Gowri, we'll be back after a short break, so we'll talk more about the Southeast Asia. ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hello, welcome back. This is Grace.
Hi, this is Gowri.
And you're still listening to Duyan ASEAN, the voice of sharing, and we are still at our first segment of the day, which is daily news.
Yes, it's 8:25 in the morning, and we will be sharing more news with our listeners regarding Southeast Asia and also a couple of news in Asia itself that is very pressing at the moment.
Yes, and I would love to continue the news from Myanmar. It's regarding the issues that's been going on for some time, and then it looks like dozens of Rohingya migrants held in southern Thailand now.
So this is another one of those news that was highlighted a lot last year, and we still want to provide updates, of course, because the Rohingyas are one community that are really marginalized and they are not treated well in their own country. And it goes back to what we reported earlier, like you were saying. It's because of this extremism that where people use religion as a tool for discrimination, which should not be the case, because religion always tells you to treat everyone equally and to love everyone like your brother and sister.
Yep.
Maybe I'm being too idealistic here. I don't know.
Yeah, you sound very the world peacemaker. Well, definitely when it comes to Rohingya issue, it always brings along with the human rights in ASEAN, and more than 50 migrants, mostly Rohingya Muslims, fleeing Myanmar, have been held in southern Thailand after authorities acting on the tip of the stopped truck smuggling them through the country.
And of the 53 people who were held, 37 of them are believed to be from the minority, and the remainder are actually from Bangladesh. And these are an increasing number of migrants arriving in Thailand. Actually, a few months ago, we also reported about how people from Bangladesh are actually, and also from Pakistan actually, who are actually creeping into Thailand for protection because of the conditions in their country. But it seems that this time most of the groups were actually from Myanmar and Bangladesh, and they arrived on boats, were taken into 3 trucks, and they were actually set for a transit through Malaysia.
Oh, and also most of them are actually under 18 years old. So more younger generation, they're looking to places to flee from their own countries because they have not been treated well in their own country. Thus, they are looking for the better places to go. But then again, even after they flee from their country, the treatment they will get from other countries, for example, Malaysia and also perhaps the southern Thailand, it will not be. Maybe it's not. It could not be the up to the same expectation that they expected.
Well, but when they leave the country, they're probably just looking to. It's more like for survival, and they just want to get out of there because they don't feel safe. But then again, like you mentioned, that doesn't guarantee their safety. That doesn't guarantee that they will be treated better by the new place or the new country that they are entering. Especially in terms of, in this case, where we have the Rohingyas, who even the UN said that they are actually the world's most persecuted minority. I'm speaking like in the world, and as illegal Bangladeshi immigrants, and denies them citizenship by the Myanmar government, of course. And this also tells us that the Myanmar government hasn't really done anything to address this issue because it's been ongoing for so long, and we were waiting for them to do something about it.
For sure.
They came up with a couple of solutions, trying to come up with a label for them, saying that, okay, we can accept you this way and that, but it was not accepted by the Rohingyas. They still wanted to maintain their own identity and their own culture, and also it seems things are still the same.
It comes to a point where we can actually wonder how come the government itself has not been doing anything about this community, because Myanmar views its a population of roughly 800,000 Rohingya people around, and then if they are found to be victims, they will be witnessed in the human trafficking case and also will be put in the shelters. So after all, what's the point of fleeing from their own country if they are found victims and then they will be put in the another shelters for not so comfortable places again?
And this goes back to the human rights track records in Southeast Asia, where we still don't have a proper framework or a mechanism to address this issue. Of course, we keep criticizing the parties involved and saying that this is not right, this shouldn't be done. But at the end of the day, there is no one monitoring the states besides the UN, and there's no one making sure that these people really get taken care of, or at least provide them with their basic rights and treat them like humans. That's the least that they can do for.
Yep. And also Thailand is another country which has the shift movement in terms of the government system, and then I don't know how and when the government will actually take an action towards this community, because it's already reported to the public, and then it's up to the government how they will be handling this group of people fleeing from their own country.
And
so hopefully, we really hope that we can receive more positive news regarding this, and also looking forward to seeing more improvement in terms of helping these people, especially Rohingya community. And moving on to talk about a little bit of investment, there will be 3 corporate giants to boost the Thai investment in Vietnam, and it will come up to around 500%. So 3 of Thailand's largest cooperative groups have proposed retail and industrial projects in Vietnam that could increase the kingdom's investment in ASEAN nation by up to 500%, and that's quite a big number.
It is a very big number, and it's great to see Thailand and Vietnam working together in this case, especially because of the ASEAN 2015, the economic integration, the economic community, that we are trying to achieve. And according to the Vietnam Net website, all these projects, if completed, would also increase Thailand's investment in Vietnam over up to 5 times over the current 7 billion level of registered capital.
And definitely we can actually look forward to looking at the better relationship between Thailand and Vietnam. And also the Thai investors had launched about 374 projects in Vietnam worth about the $6.7 billion. And that actually has led ranking Thailand 10th out of 101 countries and territories investing in the country.
So some of the sectors that Thailand will be focusing on, all these Thai investors will be focusing on, will be industrial processing, manufacturing, agroforestry, fisheries sector, and construction, wholesale, retail trade, accommodations, and catering. So that's quite a wide and diverse sectors that they will be investing in.
And those are the quite main industries in the nation that will boost up the economic growth in the nation. And definitely, like I mentioned before, the relationship between the Vietnam and Thailand will boost up because of especially the investors that are coming into the Vietnam.
And it seems that even Thai, some of the slave labor wages are too expensive for these corporations, and they are making big investments abroad. But what about like their own country, if we were to think about it, in Thailand itself? Because the condition there is not very encouraging. It's not very positive as well. So will they actually be able to attract investors to Thailand itself, and instead of just,
I don't know, in terms of opening platform to foreign investors from outside to Thailand there because of the shift in terms of government system, but definitely all those investors from Thailand, they're looking into more opportunities outside of their nation, and probably it's also because of the government movement that they have been facing. So they rather invest their money to other nation and then see the economic growth from there on. Well, moving on to we can travel to Japan perhaps.
Yeah, sure.
So, according to Abe, he says to stick to Japan apology in new World War II statement, and it's conservative Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said. A few days ago, he would release a fresh statement on the World War II this year, but would stand by previous apologies for wartime misdeeds.
It's interesting that this is coming up again after all these years because this happened World War II. That was like 1939 to 1945.
And actually a lot of, okay, I wouldn't say a lot of, but then the few countries which Japan actually conquered did affect a lot by Japanese colonization.
And of course, Malaysia is one of them. And I think even you were
South
telling me
Korea,
about a museum in South Korea that actually portrayed, which we also have in Malaysia. And of course, they had their impact during the World War in these few countries, and a lot of them were affected by their misconducts back then by the Japanese army, the Japanese occupation, which everyone feared. So the Prime Minister has come up and said he would release a fresh statement, a new apology to people, and hopefully this will help to allay fears that people have, and also to sort of
but I'm curious
relief
here.
from
I
their
don't know
guilt.
how he will be refreshing all these historical stories and fact, because they're already written in the book, and then it's all in our memories. It comes from generation to generation. Well, I'm saying not because I have something against the Japan, but then well, that's how we actually learn it, especially when it comes to sex slavery, and then there comes down to the history between, like, South Korea and Japan, or Malaysia, or any other countries that Japan conquered before. And this is quite a sensitive and also controversial the historical fact that we've been talking about. And
yeah, he also said in the statement that through its colonial rule back then and the aggression, they have caused tremendous damage and suffering to the people of many countries, particularly those of the Asian nations, which is why he felt like he needed to come up with this fresh apology statement, because he feels deep remorse and he wants to offer a heartfelt apology.
Definitely they will draw another fresh image of Japan towards other nation. Well, now the younger generation, perhaps they don't know much about the history, but then all this, our parents and the older generation, they still feel very hurt, and also still carry the negative image of Japan.
And some of them actually still remember. There was a recent documentary, probably 1 or 2 years ago, that was released in Malaysia, where they managed to track down people who were
in Malaysia
alive, yes, during the Japanese occupation, and they were actually
very
quite
cruel.
old, but yeah, they managed to recount the story, and they actually remember quite a bit from that. But that was very long ago, and Japan has moved ahead from that. Of course, they've changed a lot. They've also contributed a lot to Asia in terms of peace, development, democratization, and even in terms of technology or their working culture. We look up to them, and we've come a long way from that.
And he did pick repeatedly all those system of sex slavery that was shown up to like 200,000 women from Korea, China, and elsewhere. That also includes, of course, Malaysia during the conflict. That's when he came with a fresh statement to amend and also to rebuild the image of Japan. So, although he has stopped short of revoking Japan's 1993 admission and apology, known as a Kono statement, he has made clear his disdain and undermined it with the investigation of evidence used. So definitely we can expect quite a positive news and an image from Japan from now on.
And it's probably due to international pressure as well.
Yeah,
that
for sure.
He's handling.
Yes. Well, we'll talk about more about the Japan after one last break that we'll be having. So we'll come back shortly. ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia. Hello, welcome back. This is Grace.
Hi, this is Gowri.
So you're still with us on the first segment. So we'll be delivering the continuation of Japan news.
Yes.
So
and this is regarding the Olympics, the 2020 Olympics that is going to be held.
And then it will be the Olympic village to be hydrogen powered, and it sounds very technological.
Yes, and they are also going to call it the hydrogen town, where electricity and hot water will be generated from the abundant element, Daily said on Monday.
And that's very interesting because the planners at the Tokyo metropolitan government want to use opportunity of hosting the summer sporting festival, and also to boost the clean energy that they're planning to have. And also city wants to build a hydrogen station and the pipelines that will send the gas to accommodation units, athletic facilities and restaurants, and also mass circulation.
And this athletes village will also be a temporary home to about 17,000 people during the games. And once the games are over, it will be converted into a town with about 10,000 people who can actually live there.
For sure, it looks like it's actually a huge project that will come for Tokyo Olympics that will be held in 2020. And once the games are over, like you said, it will be converted into town around population for about 10,000, and that's quite also a number of people there.
Of course, and this is definitely not a small task, like you mentioned. It's a very big project, and it will be built from scratch, which makes it even tougher. We'll see how this one turns out.
Yeah, definitely, because hydrogen does not occur naturally as a gas and needs to be extracted from compounds for sure. So let's see how Japan will execute this plan for the Olympics village for 2020. So move on to the next issue, the news that we have regarding Philippines.
Philippines is all geared up, preparing for the AEC 2015.
Yay! And 2015 is already this year.
That's right.
So, what is Philippines doing towards this AEC? What began as the regional effort by the 5 neighboring Southeast Asia to reduce the trade barriers is now emerging as how we know as ASEAN, ASEAN Economic Community, a dynamic open market of 600 billion customers with a production base that can compete with the world's largest economies.
And also the AEC, of course, is planning to remove all barriers for the movement of goods, services and capital, so it's easier for exchange in between all these countries. And part of the growth is also expected to come from local companies who are expected to expand beyond their domestic markets, as we keep saying, all the SMEs, small medium enterprises, to reach beyond the domestic market and to go for a more regional approach, especially for the ASEAN community.
And also we talked about the Philippines, and in fact the Filipinos, they have always had the advantage of being English speaking and trained in both Roman law, which they actually inherited from Spain, and also Anglo-American and common law, which they've learned from Americans for now. So definitely this intra-ASEAN law practice becoming the new normal that will provide the manpower that is needed to become a meaningful participant in ASEAN economic integration.
And apart from that, Philippines is also looking to start investing in China, which is a very interesting move. And it seems that they also have law firms that have opened up in China, so they can easily get consultation when they go over and try to start a business.
So with all this agreement going on currently, and some of them will be concluded this year, 2015, and definitely the Philippines is one of them. So we hope to see a better relationship between the Philippines and China, also Philippines and ASEAN.
And definitely looking forward to the ASEAN Economic Community, which is 2015. There I go again.
With the 2015, yes. Gowri, I really hope to see some changes in your life in 2015.
Me too.
Well, that's it for our news commentary session today.
Yes, don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, and also we have a YouTube channel that you can subscribe to.
And that's correct. And also we have a website, drianasean.com, and almost every content will be there. So please come to our website and look for the contents that you want to share. And you can of course share those contents to your Facebook or social media website. So this was Grace.
This
and
is Gowri.
we'll come back for the next session.